Hello viewers, a very good afternoon to everyone. Today I am going to throw light on a very important topic pertaining to research, that is research gap. What is research gap and how can we locate it? Why it is so important in terms of research? To answer all these things, we'll have to understand research gap first, because many a time it is seen that scholars and researchers, they may not able to understand the idea of research gap, and that's why they couldn't lead their research in the right direction. So research gap is actually the question or the problem that has not been addressed so far in that particular field of study. How can we locate it? By making a thorough review of literature. The researcher must have proper understanding of the studies which have already been conducted in his particular field. He'll have to go through all those dissertations, works, theses, books, articles, so that he can determine that which angle, which aspect, which point is still to be studied. Now we can have one more possibility here at this point. We can go for the research in all those areas where the existing studies have become obsolete or outdated. So mostly it is what in the context of quantitative research, and that is the point researchers need to understand. Now there are certain suggestions. How can we locate a valid research gap? If any researcher or scholar would like to locate a valid research gap in the field of study, then what all he or she need to do while going through the existing studies or research, they will particularly think about, read about the conclusive part, the conclusions, because this is what the place where the scholar or the researcher must have given the suggestions for future studies. And these suggestions will lead the scholar or the current researcher to locate the research gap, where he can find extension. And that is one of the options. Thereafter, research is possible on the same writer with the same works, but will have to understand the very objective of research and will have to keep it in our mind, that is novelty. If your proposed research won't satisfy the objective of novelty, we can't call it a research. So you can very well take the works, the same writer, but you will have to keep the lens to look at those works different. Means the angle of a study, the particular point to be discussed, that must be novel. No one else must have talked about that particular work, that writer, that ideology through that angle. Then your research would be acknowledged, it would have some worth, because ultimately your research must add on the existing repository of knowledge. It must lead for the future research in the same field. So, identifying or locating a valid research gap is one of the key components of conducting any research. I hope I have made my point clear to all of you, and it will definitely be useful for coming researcher. Thank you.